Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Hawk Talk post-game show. This is Brian Nemhauser, at Hawkblogger on Twitter. And with me, we've got Nathan Ernst wearing his lovely Doug Baldwin. I believe that's a wolf gray jersey. How you doing, Nathan?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I don't like losing. I don't like it when the Seahawks lose. It doesn't make me happy.
I was pretty numb to this game. About, I don't know, midway through the second quarter. So I'm not too disappointed.
Yeah, I get it. It doesn't really mean much, honestly, but I just it's frustrating, especially because I'd love to. We'll go through and hear your takeaways, but the offense just basically was unable to function once Russell left, and the second string offensive line got in there. There wasn't much to watch when they had the ball, and it felt like the second and third string defense also was pretty much on its heels the whole game and didn't play with the same verve, should I say, that they had the first game. So just didn't see the spark that I was hoping to see, and felt like we didn't get a chance to see and evaluate some of the players I would have liked to see.
Yeah, it felt extremely like the second. It kind of actually felt more like the fourth preseason game.
Yeah.
It was as soon as Paxton came in and looked like old Paxton. From that point on, it was just kind of like, okay, this game is gonna just be whatever it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. So there are a lot of folks who are not pleased with my commentary on this game on Twitter. I am apparently too negative for folks today. There's other times that I'm told that I'm blind and way too optimistic, but tonight's one of those nights. Before I get into what I noticed about this game, what were kind of the things that jumped off the screen for you as things that you'll take away from this game?
I don't want to take too much away on Rashaad Penny, but this was a really disappointing game with him. Carson looked okay. Penny came in and looked real bad. And then the other guys came in and looked okay. And so, while I was watching Penny, I was kind of like, okay, well, this offensive line is trash, whatever. I'm not really thinking too much of them. But then, Homer comes in, looks okay. Turner comes in, looks okay. And it's just like, boy, I don't know. The other, I guess the other big takeaway is some of the hype trains, I think, kind of officially died with Paxton and Jazz. And then that defense might be sneaky bad again. Maybe less sneaky than they were last year. So, unfortunately, not a lot of positives on this one.
Yeah, so you it sounds like a little bit different on what you took away as negative. You and I saw Penny the same way, for sure. That I think a lot of folks are pretty sure that I've got a bone to pick with Penny, and I really don't. I was very clear I don't like spending a first-round pick on a running back, and it didn't matter whether it was Penny or somebody else. And then he hasn't shown, even if you're going to play a first-round pick on a running back, you hope the guy's at least special in some way. And he looked very, very far from special tonight. And I think folks think it's a bias I have, but what I saw is the line was doing a terrible job. He had very few holes. There were at least a couple times where he had zero chance because the guy was right on him as soon as he got the handoff in the backfield. But there was times where there were not a lot of holes, and he's just tentative behind the line of scrimmage. He's going sideways. He's chopping his feet. And then he takes a loss, or he takes, no gain instead of gaining a yard or two. And Travis Homer, to me, was a good foil for that. He was behind the same line and often against the same level of defense. And, toward the end of the game, Vikings defender knifed through, had Homer dead to rights in the backfield. He made that guy miss. And then he charged forward and got a couple of yards out of nothing. And that's what NFL running backs should do. They the offensive line is not going to block everyone all the time, and a running back should be able to make somebody miss and at least gain a couple more yards from where that play was going to be made. And we just haven't seen Penny do that very often.
Yep. Unfortunately, he's had a couple moments and stuff, but like it's clearly just not, at this point, it's not something that you can expect regularly from him. Sometimes he's going to do something crazy. Like, he had a couple big plays, the reverse field last year and all that. I think he had a nice little move, in the first preseason game off that little pass that he took away. But yeah, it just doesn't feel like there's anything that he can do to consistently, to turn those short gains into medium gains or those negative gains into short gains. I don't know. It was pretty bleak tonight, so I don't want to take too much away from it, but it was pretty concerning.
Yeah, and just for folks that may or may not have seen this, the stats, just pulling them up real quick, and this is not telling all, but if I go over here to the box score real quick, Chris Carson, 5 carries, 25 yards, 5 yards a carry. Travis Homer, 4 carries, 16 yards, 4 yards a carry. Each of them had a long run of 9 yards. Xavier Turner, 2 carries, 13 yards, 6.5 yards a carry, long run, 8 yards. John Ursua, 1 carry, 11 yards. Russell Wilson, 2 carries, 9 yards. JT Barrett, 1 carry, 5 yards. Rashaad Penny, 6 carries, -2 yards.
-2 yards is bad.
It's not good. It's just not good. I don't know what people want to hear that they think that we're being unfair for this guy. He didn't show anything tonight. It was a bad game for Rashaad Penny.
He didn't come out and average like 2.4 yards per carry or 1.9 yards per carry or like 1 yard a carry. -2 yards on, 6 isn't a lot, but it's enough to get positive yards. Like it's one of those where you want to temper yourself because it's preseason, and also dude got -2 yards. That's real bad.
Yeah, it is. So enough on Penny. I think the other place where I was, getting a lot of flack for being negative is I thought both Shaquille Griffin and Trey Flowers did not have great games. I thought that the first pass that Adam Thielen caught on 3rd down over Shaquille Griffin was awful. I think that Shaquille Griffin got beaten badly off the line, got 0, basically was grasping at air on the press, and Thielen was at least a couple yards ahead. I think I said 3 to 5, which is probably an exaggeration on Twitter, and people got upset, but he was beaten. 2 yards of separation in the NFL is a shit ton of separation. And you can't let people get over the top in this defense. That's like your one job, is to not let people get over the top. And he's supposed to be one of the fastest DBs. It was disappointing to see that happen.
Yeah. And then, I think the one that you got the most flack for, and I don't know how much I agree with you on this one, is Flowers DPI. Yeah.
Talk about that.
It was definitely bad. It was an underthrown ball. If that ball is thrown better, I think it's a pretty easy touchdown for Thielen. And so in that respect, I guess, he got torched pretty good. But it wasn't a perfect ball, and he wasn't a place to make a play. He did clearly – I can't believe that we argued – or there were people that were arguing about the DPI on this. They call that 100% of the time. You reach around a guy, you grab him like that, like 100% of the time you're going to get that call. So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of go back and forth on that one. Like, I think a better placed ball is probably a touchdown. I don't know that he was completely torched on that.
Torched is a strong word. It's a trigger word, and that's a, annoyance during the game word that comes out. So
he was beat, no doubt.
He was beat, and he was beat for 45 yards downfield. And the fact that they called DPI – and the fact that the ball was underthrown and gave him a chance to make a play doesn't change the fact that he was beaten downfield again over the top. And that's just a cardinal sin for the cornerbacks in this. I thought, if you're scoring a play, A through F, I would give Shaquille Griffin like a D- on his play. And Trey Flowers like a C minus. Like I don't think they were in the same realm of poor plays. And I thought Trey Flowers had some other plays. That could have been a great play. He made a good play on the ball, but he felt the need to grab him with his backhand to get balance. And even that would have been okay if he hadn't have pinned his arm. He grabbed his arm, he didn't just put his hand on the player. He pinned his arm down. So I initially thought it was a terrible call. And then I saw the replay and I was like, nope, that was a good call. So that was disappointing. We need those guys to play better.
And somehow they did not have the two worst games from a cornerback. I think Akeem King, I mean, he looked like trash tonight.
Really? I only saw the one where he fell down. Tell me more.
So he got beat at least twice on a couple in-breaking routes. And then that one where he fell down, I mean, that's probably just one where it's not actually just one where he got his feet tangled up. So I don't really know what happened. Like the top part of his body started his back pedal and his feet didn't. And so he just toppled. But yeah, I mean, the dude got his ankles broken on like no move at all. So he had a really bad stretch. And I think just generally I noticed him having a rough game. He gave up a couple towards the sideline, I think, as well. So not his best showing at all.
Interesting. That's one that I missed. And I mean, other than that one play, I didn't see him a lot. I thought Deshawn Shead had a really interesting game, and I'm curious where you were on him. He had the pick six, but he had two pretty bad missed tackles.
Yeah. What was the one? He had the one real bad one, but now I don't remember what play that was on.
It was on the long run. Oh, actually, sorry. It was there was a blitz and running back, and Shed was the guy there to shut it down and just whiffed. Yeah,
I think he is probably pretty happy he got gifted that pick six tonight because, that might have covered up some other warts in his game. The defense looked, they only gave it 25 points. They looked like pretty awful.
Well, so let's talk about that. I mean, what I saw with the first team defense is Poona Ford looks as advertised. He was disruptive and making plays in the backfield pretty early. I thought Al Woods showed glimpses, and those are going to be the two defensive tackles. I thought Al Woods looked good.
Jefferson's still playing well.
Jefferson was in the backfield. He still doesn't seem to be able to make the tackle in the backfield, but he was disruptive. We saw Cassius Marsh and Barkevious Mingo get pressure again in this game, which I think is positive. I think we saw in the first half, especially in the first quarter, a decent amount of pressure. Cody Barton had a nice blitz that he was able to get around the running back blocker and applied pressure. So I felt like, without Bobby and KJ, I thought the front seven played reasonably well in the first quarter and a half or so. It was really from there on, when you get into the Rasheem Greens and you get into the, Brian Monet was starting to get some hype from Pete and Ken Norton. He didn't come until third string, and he got just pushed into the end zone on that last touchdown at the end of the game. And so it felt like it deteriorated for me, but maybe you saw something else.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, I think it did get, I think the front four looked good early. I think that they are deep in guys that can play strong against the run. And so that kind of held up throughout. But, I mean, anything past defense looked rough and got rougher as the game went on.
Yeah, I don't think this was a great game for any of the nickel corners. We saw Deshawn Shead get beat for a first down. We saw Kalen Reed get beat for a first down. I think later Ugo Amadi was beat, if I'm remembering right. So not a strong game for the nickel corners. Really not a strong game for any of the corners, I don't think. So that was unfortunate. And I think I'm curious what you thought about Russell Wilson and the first team offense.
Russ looked a little off. He missed Carson a little bit on that third down at the end. Another bad throw, but I don't remember what it was. the Jerron Brown throw. That was it went off Brown's fingertips, and some people say if you can get your fingers on it, you got to catch it. I don't really buy into that. That ball was real high. So, I mean, first preseason game for him. I don't know how much to worry about it, but I thought you could see some rust there. So,
rust is a really good word for it. I was pleased. I thought the offense looked varied, and there were some really nice, crisp plays where, Russ made some throws downfield that I thought were by far the best throws of the game. I would say, other than the Kirk Cousins to Thielen throw over Shaq Griffin, that was probably one of the better throws as well. But I thought Russ had some nice balls that he pushed downfield to different receivers. And there was those 2 passes that I think you'd want back, which, the one to Carson, definitely a first down, probably a touchdown. And the one to Jerron Brown on third down, there was some pressure coming, and I think Russ was bracing for it, and the line blocked it up. And so I think Russ just hurried himself and pushed it high. And that's one of the stories that was possible, that was positive for me, is I thought the first string O-line was pretty darn good. Like, run blocking was good. Pass protection was really good. Like, Russ had some time back there.
Yep. Simon Miller in the chat just mentioned too that he missed Lockett on the end zone. I don't know what to make of that play.
Oh, yeah.
I'm real suspicious. There's some competing screenshots about where players were relative to other screenshots, and that make it seem like maybe he really did just miss Lockett. But you don't typically see 3-4 defenders come flying down, leaving a wide receiver wide open in the end zone like that, unless the quarterback has already kind of committed to the run or even crossed the line. So I'm suspicious that was really a miss, but potentially another pretty bad one for him.
Yeah, and that is not an uncommon occurrence in the Russell Wilson era. Like, he'll make unbelievable plays where you're like, how in the world did he complete that ball? And then there's other plays where it's like, dude, the play is right there. Like, it's right in front of you. Why won't you just throw it?
He usually doesn't miss those when they're downfield, though. He'll miss them short sometimes, but not when someone's just standing wide open, 10, 15 yards down in the end zone. That's more uncommon, but yeah.
Yeah. I guess going to the stadium and watching Russ at home a lot, I've just gotten accustomed to seeing, like, receivers jumping up and down, like, waving their arms. And Russell just does not seem to see them sometimes. I don't know why. I don't think it's that he's short. I think he just, whatever. It comes with who he is. Does a lot of stuff good, and sometimes some stuff not so good. There were some other storylines in this, Nathan. One for me, obviously, the Marquise Blair story. There's a couple parts of this. He came into this game. I was all on the Marquise Blair hype train. Let's get him to start. Don't care if he's going to make some mistakes. Let's just get him in there. He's better than Tedrick. I would still say I'd rather have someone other than Tedrick, but that touchdown sure looked like it was on him on a blown coverage, and it was a pretty bad one. And then story is that he got carted off with a back injury later in the game. So, what do you make of what you saw from Blair, and how big of a deal would it be if Blair's out for some period of time?
Yeah, I agree. I think the touchdown probably was on him because he was, I don't know, even if that ends up not being on him and Pete comes out and says, oh, this is that or the other, which who knows, maybe. He was in no man's land. Like, I don't think he played that right, even if it ultimately wasn't on him. So bad play on him there. And then I just kind of didn't notice him a lot the rest of the game. Maybe I just was watching other stuff, but and losing him, I mean, you technically aren't losing anything. You've never really had him. So, you're just thinking about going back to Tedrick, which I'm not excited about, but I don't know. I still don't know how optimistic to be about Blair. Like, I get the idea, like, he's going to make mistakes, but he's going to fly around and make plays too. He might make a lot of mistakes. And so it's just really hard to say, like, how potentially damaging this could be if he does miss a lot of time.
Yeah, this is where the story started with him, is that in OTAs, there was a lot of safeties injured. He was healthy, and he was playing behind Shalom Luani and other guys, even with all the other safeties out. And I was pure conjecture at that point, but based on what I've noticed in the past, when that's happening with the high round pick, it's because he's having trouble picking up the playbook and being right and being assignment correct. And so coaches don't reward players that cannot, consistently be where they're supposed to be. Lo and behold, he gets into training camp, doesn't show much, but then in the scrimmage, he looks good. And especially in the first preseason game, he looks great at full speed. Now, you hear Pete Carroll tapping the brakes, about can they trust him? So it confirms that there's some questions there. And then you have this play that was pretty egregious, and now he's hurt. So I think that you've got to think that the Marquise Blair hype train is at full stop. As fast as it got started, I think it's got to be at full stop right now. We'll figure out what happens with the injury. I think attention turns to Lano Hill as your hope of who can potentially unseat Tedrick Thompson. And it was unfortunate that Lano didn't play tonight, but he seems very likely to play next week. And there is still time for someone other than Marquise Blair to challenge Tedrick Thompson for that starting role.
Well, I'll throw out two more pieces of hope on that. I mean, Ugo Amadi could still be a guy, especially now if Blair is going to miss significant time, then maybe they look a little bit more seriously. I think he's been kind of playing both nickel and free, and maybe they give him a more of a shot to take that free safety spot. And Shead. I've never loved Shead as a safety. I was pretty pessimistic about him when he started to start as a cornerback because of how little I liked him as a safety, but obviously that worked out very well. But he's back at safety now. Pick 6 today. That was cool. Kind of gifted to him, but maybe.
Yeah. You kind of hope at the best that Shead becomes like a Jordan Babineau type, not, a veteran that happens to be in the right place at the right time, make some plays for you. He could be that kind of player. I have to go back and look at the roster. I didn't have him making it on my last cut. And we'll see where injuries might affect things depending on how long Blair is out, but I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Shalom Luani is the guy no one wants to talk about because no one really pays close attention, but he's a first team special teamer and he's been ahead of those guys and he was on the roster at times last year. So
started the game last year.
Yeah, he's the other guy that is at least worth being aware of.
Okay, so do we want to take stock of all the hype trains that we've buried so far in this podcast? So we're all off the Paxton hype train, right?
I'm not off the Paxton hype train.
Oh.
I didn't agree with you on that one.
Okay, why? Well, all right, give me the upside on Paxton.
Well, I thought that he was given really tough situations in most cases. I thought the line was awful that he was playing behind and they had penalties. So he was often at 2nd and 16, 2nd and 20. And I don't think that there was a lot he was able to do with it. I thought he made some nice throws when there was some time, but I wouldn't say that this was a good game for Paxton Lynch by any stretch. But it would be hard for me to say, oh yeah, he's clearly worse than Geno Smith. Stop talking about him potentially being the backup.
Okay. Jazz Ferguson, how's that hype train going these days?
Dude, that one I think is the brake has been broken off of it. I think the people that are on the Jazz Ferguson hype train are so out over their skis on it that nothing I don't think anything will slow people down on Jazz Ferguson until he doesn't make the team, and then people will be mad about him not making the team.
Okay, and then what we say, the Marcus Blair hype train?
Marquise Blair, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's another one we haven't talked about.
I mean, two of these hype trains are in the shop for repairs. They're Paxton's hurt, Blair's hurt. So
yeah, that was a brutal and pretty cheap hit. I don't know what Charles Davis was saying. It was like,
then, he tried to backtrack afterwards, and it was this crappy little well, what I saw live, and then you could see with the replay that it was just Just say you're wrong.
Brutal.
Just say you're wrong. It's okay to say you're wrong.
Exactly. And yeah, I thought that was pretty blatant, and he led with his helmet completely. I don't think even if Lynch hadn't been sliding, and Lynch was also in a slide, like it was the start of a slide, but it was pretty clear. And anyway, even if he hadn't been leading with his helmet, if he had hit him with his shoulder, I think that would have been.
And Davis rushed out. Like, he was apologizing for Hill before the first replay was even played. Like, immediately he was like, well, I don't think that was malicious. And it's like, what
really?
are you like?
Really?
Let's talk about it, Charles, because
well, the other hype train I was thinking about is it was like a little caboose, like a little tiny train that was just starting to pump its engine up, was the Gary Jennings hype train. And he had his big breakout practice this past. Holy shit.
What is?
Pete Carroll says DK Metcalf needs knee surgery. Seahawks planning for Tuesday.
Fantastic.
Don't think he'll be out long.
Geno Smith had knee surgery and was back to practice the same week. I mean, we don't know.
That is brutal news. Come on, man. Anyway, well, so Gary Jennings.
Are we gonna bury the DK hype train just while we're on that?
Yeah, that one just got a big break applied. So
great.
I mean, Jennings got one target. I don't know how they don't even involve him more, even as a force in the passing game, just to see what he can do. So he did nothing. John Ursua did the John Ursua stuff.
That was a nice play. That one where he managed to not get killed and then keep going. That was pretty nice.
Yeah. Oh man.
I do want everyone to know that I am mad about the Doug Baldwin comparisons. Please stop the Doug. Like, can we just give? I get the comps and stuff, and yeah, he does have, like, he's wearing 15 and he's a slot receiver, but like, can we just let Doug's body cool a little bit before we? Do we really need to talk about DK being the next Megatron and Ursua comparing them to Doug? Like, let them be themselves, and like, also, like, let's have some respect for some people who were like truly great at the craft.
Yeah, I very much hear you on that. I also do understand. I think it's more than just the number and the position. Some of his movements and mannerisms are very similar. So I can see where people like notice some similarities. But look, Ursua is going to have a real rough time making the roster, and Doug Baldwin, set the record for undrafted free agent catches in a season. So they're not the same player. And that's fine. But I thought Ursua looked fine. But this Metcalf thing, let's talk about this for a second. Pete says he's hoping he'll be back in a hurry. Who knows what that means?
We put a Metcalf in on our Nacho bet, right? Didn't we say something about like he had to play at least 10 games? Or
no, there was no injury clause.
There
was no injury clause. No way. None of us are smart enough to make clauses like that. We had a wide receiver target clause. That was the only clause. It was for people that aren't aware. I made the bet with the rest of the Hawk Blogger crew, as well as now Joe Fan, who is not just a generic fan name. He's actually a reporter who covers the Seahawks on Twitter. You should follow him. He's a good guy. That DK Metcalf will be third or lower among the wide receivers in targets this season. And everyone else is betting that he will be second or higher.
Just receivers.
Just from receivers. And so... Yep, I had someone at work today pumping me for information on fantasy, saying, should they buy the DK Metcalf like hype? Should they draft him late? And is he going to be a true number 2? And I'm like, you're asking the wrong guy. I think he's not even going to be number 2 in targets on our team. So, yes, setting aside my Nacho preferences, let's talk DK Metcalf. Let's say he's out for the first 2 weeks of the season or something. Let's say that we've got Jerron Brown, David Moore, Tyler Lockett still, which are the top 3 receivers. So those are intact. Probably not a big issue there. But then Malik Turner was getting a lot of run. He got a lot of run before any of the other receivers. So I'm sticking with my point of view that he is the 5th receiver on this team. And then from there, you've got Jennings, Ursua, Jazz. Is there a chance that, if DK's out, that's good news for Jazz Ferguson? Or do you think it's one of the other receivers that benefits? Is it a Gary Jennings that benefits from that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jazz is making this team. And, he went out and fumbled today. So, he didn't have a great game. He fumbles. That's not helping him. So, if it's helping anybody, it's probably Ursua or Jennings, whoever's the odd man out there. I don't think Jazz is making this team. I just don't like it when when a player has a big game and the first comments out of a coach's mouth is like, well, it's great to see after he came in to camp out of shape and all that. So skeptical there.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting on the receiver front. Otherwise,
it puts a lot of pressure on Jennings because at the very least they need someone to. I mean, Jerome Brown's a deep threat, but I don't remember ever seeing him make a contested catch or any kind of a side. He gets downfield and then kind of finds spots. He did that a couple times in this game, but he's not a guy that's going up over someone or what Thielen did today. He doesn't do anything like that. David Moore can be that kind of guy. I think he could be someone that's a playmaker, but they just don't have a lot of guys outside of Tyler they don't have any guys outside of Tyler that have kind of proven to be able to make those kind of one-on-one plays. And I think that's something that you're really hoping DK could do. And so now I think you got to look at Moore, and I think it puts a lot of pressure on Jennings if Moore can't really step up that way.
Yeah, I thought Jerron Brown he looked good. He looked like preseason Jerron Brown today. I mean, he was making plays downfield. Tyler Lockett looked like Tyler Lockett and dangerous. For me, the biggest issue with Metcalf going down, if he's going to be out for a little while, is I just want to watch the guy play. I mean, it's just an entertainment factor, and I think he certainly brings some unique advantages that the other guys, as you're saying, don't have. So, best guess is that Gary Jennings would be probably the biggest beneficiary if they have to carry an extra receiver on the roster while Metcalf's out. The other guy that would be a big beneficiary could be Malik Turner, who no one else is going to be talking about. But I think he's another guy that, he's 6'2", definitely can play split end, and really Jerron Brown and David Moore are the first guys there. So what else?
Do you have any bright spots? I think we have not said a single good thing about this team.
That's not true. So I actually, I'll reiterate a couple things I said before. I thought Russell Wilson played really pretty well. I thought he missed 2 throws. I thought the starting offensive line was really good.
That's right.
Run blocking, pass blocking was good. I thought Jerron Brown played well. I thought Tyler Lockett played well. I thought that the starting defensive line played reasonably well. Poona Ford played well. I thought Cassius Marsh and Barkevius Mingo got some pressure, which was good, and eventually turned into a pick 6, much more than Deshawn Shead. I give credit to the guys applying the pressure. I thought Cody Barton looked pretty good. I don't think he looked great, but I thought he looked pretty good and suitable. So there's a fair number of things that I was pretty positive about in the first half. Jason Myers looked good. He made all his field goals, and they were without too much drama. So those are the things. What about you? Is there anything you felt like I'd say Travis Homer also looked fine. I wouldn't say he looked great, but he looked fine for his first, carries.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of felt like a game where there were a lot of guys doing their job and a few that weren't. And I mean, it's a weakest link type of game, right? And so you have one of these, you have a couple breakdowns, and suddenly it can look real bad. I think offensive line, yeah, they looked good. It's actually the point now where that's getting less and less notable because they're they just seem like they're a good group, and it doesn't seem like something we have to talk a lot about when they just kind of go out and do their job and do a good job. It's not where I think that the cable trauma is subsiding a little bit. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, I don't know that he had a particularly great game. I thought he had a really up and down game last week, but someone that is fun to just kind of zoom in on and watch just for a fun factor is Jamie Meter. He's always doing something. It's not always the right thing, but it is a thing. And he's pretty entertaining. I think he had a pretty big play, tackle for loss or something towards the end of the game. He jumped out. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of positives, but I would throw out, take some time, watch Jamie Meter. You might not have a lot more time to make Meter. I don't know if he's making this team. I think he probably is, but he's always kind of an entertaining one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, he had a couple tackles for loss tonight. Yeah, so I mean that's most of the positives. I thought Ugo Amadi, had a nice special teams play again. I think I just continue to believe in his ability to contribute to the team. The other guy that I just maybe we'll wrap on this maybe unless we have other stuff to cover is Rasheem Green. Not seeing the progression, not seeing the big step forward. We talked about it a lot this offseason that if there was one guy we could pick to really step forward and contribute, it would be Rasheem Green. And he just forget the pass rush, which obviously is a huge deal you want to see. I see him getting manhandled in run defense and not setting the edge, even at the end of the game. They're playing against their third string offensive line. He's getting handled and sealed. And that's really disappointing.
It looks like it's still moving pretty fast for him. Like it looks like he's still thinking a lot. Because he isn't physically. So I tweeted out a while ago that Puna Ford was the fourth player and that he was really athletic. Ford actually didn't test particularly well. That doesn't change my mind about him a lot. I think he still got good upset and all that. But the person I was thinking of was Rasheem Green, who tested really well in the combine, dominated, got 10 sacks at USC on athleticism. And he just doesn't look like that kind of player right now. And I think that a lot of it is just still adapting to game speed and still thinking. And yeah, he kind of looks like he's in over his head a lot of times. And it's, it would have been really nice to see him kind of come and break out.
Yeah. I think it's an unfortunate situation that they've got a guy who's clearly talented and is just not making that move. You have to hope that other guys I thought Jacob Martin looked fine. He didn't do anything particularly great tonight, but I think he still has a chance to step forward. I think that Marquise Blair could step forward. There's other guys that could potentially be better than they were last year, but I don't know that right now you can say Green looks like he's going to be one of those people. So, all right. Anything else that we've missed that you have thoughts on that you want to add before we wrap for the evening?
No, it's going to be an interesting week though. Just keeping track of how a lot of this depth chart stuff sorts out, getting updates on injuries. It's going to be maybe not the funnest week, but it should be an interesting one.
Yeah. And I see in the chat, there is still no shortage of David Moore discussed. People do not like David Moore. There's a lot of people who want him cut. So
Moore's good.
It's going to be really interesting once the season starts and whether people still feel that way. But he's not going anywhere, folks. So I would save your breath on hoping that he gets cut. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to Postgame Show. We will be with you this Wednesday night for our normal Real Hawk Talk, as we usually will be. From this point on, we'll be going back to weekly. And if you haven't already, please join at patreon.com/hawkblogger. Donate in the chat if you're on YouTube is also great. But we are starting the new streaming service and really appreciate any support you guys can give us to help make this possible. And with that, I also want to take 1 second to really give a shout out to Blake at Viva La Blake at Manifest Fit, one of our sponsors. We had some challenges in our last couple of broadcasts, and some of his spots have been dropped. So Blake is an awesome dude. He does personal training and fitness coaching for folks, and he does it all online. So he works with people all across the U.S. He's actually working with my wife right now, Rachel, and she's been hesitant to kind of get back into working out, and it's been great. They chat every day, they text. He gives her new exercises to do. She loves it. She's in the backyard. She's going for short runs. She's doing strength training that she hasn't really done before. And he's just super encouraging, super good guy, big Seahawks fan, and a sponsor of the pod. So if you haven't already, please go to manifestfit.com, fill out the form, talk to him, figure out if it's something that'll work well for you. I think you'll be happy. And please, if nothing else, give him a follow on Twitter. And thank you, Blake, for being a sponsor of the show. All right, Nathan, thank you for joining, and I will see you in a few days, dude.
See ya.
All right, cheers.